Yo, what's good, my peoples? Allergy in the house. No, I'm just kidding. It's old Billy Sky out here, and wanted to go ahead and hop on a YouTube series here. So, progressing things. I did a few podcasts before, and want to kind of continue on with the spirit of those podcasts, but this time having no guests. So just straight up Billy Sky podcast in the truck. So this is our Thursday evening podcast, and I'm gonna try to, I don't like to commit myself to doing it every week. I thought it was a good idea on Tuesday to we'll do a class every Tuesday, Thursdays. I'm gonna try my best, and we'll see what happens. We do have a special guest actually for you, ladies and gentlemen. This is Anaka Doobie, and he is my son. Oh, he loves kisses. Hugs and kisses. Mr. Hugs and Kisses. That's his other name. His first name is Anaka Dundubi, and his middle names are Sabrino, Cocharo, Catero, and that's his name. Naka, Sabrino, Cocharo, Catero. That's his name. You heard it first. And he is an amazing doggy. He likes to just play around. He's digging for treasure right now. So I'm going to let him dig. And going to hang out with you guys. So, I don't know if you guys listen to a lot of podcasts. I've been watching, some things here and there. Joe Rogan always pops up. A lot of comedians and stuff. Theo Vaughn, funny guy. Different podcasters. But I'm not into a whole lot of them, to be honest with you. But they've got to be pretty, intriguing for me to hold my interest. So I hope that I can hold your interest here with my meanderings. And I am my moon sign is Aquarius, so that keeps me introspective. That keeps me thinking about stuff, all the time. Trying to think about stuff. And everyone does, but Aquarius we're the kind of people that we've got the hidden workshops. We're the Nikola Teslas, the Einsteins. We're the guys, you go into our room, you see 1,000 things scattered everywhere in all different directions and all facets, That's the Aquarius moon right there. So that's how you can recognize that. And I got the Leo sun, which kind of makes me enjoy being the center spotlight kind of thing, although I know that Krishna is the center. He's truly the supreme personality of Godhead, the spiritual Lord that created us all, is omnipotent, all-powerful. He is the supreme controller of all things, and he is the supreme enjoyer. And those are the only three things that anyone ever needs to know about God. That he controls everything, he's all powerful, and he's the supreme enjoyer. And that third one, the supreme enjoyer, is very important, because that means that he likes to have a good time and he's the best at it. And that kind of gives us a clue as to what our function is as humans, as living entities, and that is to render loving service and to help him enjoy himself. So we can get our satisfaction by seeing him satisfied, and in that way we can lose ourself and our own selfish interests and overcome and escape all of the entrapment of this world and the negativity and the things that cause us endless suffering. So that's the essence, is losing ourself in the loving service of God. And in order to do that, in the beginning, we may not have any tinge or any hope or any desire to serve. And so our motivation might be for our selfish interest, that we want to be liberated from our suffering condition, that we want to taste the highest happiness for ourselves. So that motivation is a self-centered motivation, but that is what eventually gets us out of our self-centeredness and allows us to learn a process by which we can forget our selfish interests and just simply be absorbed completely in thinking of the pastimes, the activities, the names, the forms, the qualities, the realm of God, the associates, the friends, the activities. They say activities? The activities. So that's what the Bhagavad Gita is all about. This is one of the greatest glorifications of the activities of God and practical instructions for humankind. And this book we began reading last time, the introduction. It is unable to properly glorify the words and the essence of this book with the taint of humanity, but we will attempt to do so with our limited resources. This book profoundly saved my life. Simply the introduction to this book changed the course of my destiny, the course of my life for all eternity. I mean, it's just unfathomable. And yet for others, they read and they cannot grasp it. So only by the mercy of the Lord will you be able to grasp this information. And it's said in the Bhagavad Gita that one needs to inquire submissively with a humble attitude, and through this service attitude, by wanting to serve the Lord, that is the entryway to be able to understand the Lord, to be able to understand his teachings, this knowledge. Okay, so we have to understand all that before we get going here. So we did the prayers, the beginning prayers of the Bhagavad Gita last time. And we could go over them again. I think we'll just start at the end of the prayers. We'll read the last prayer again. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavad Gita is also known as Gita Upanishad. It is the essence of Vedic knowledge and one of the most important Upanishads in Vedic literature. Of course, there are many commentaries in English on the Bhagavad Gita, and one may question the necessity for another one. This present edition can be explained in the following way. Recently, an American lady asked me to recommend an English translation of Bhagavad Gita. Of course, in America, there are so many editions of Bhagavad Gita available in English, but as far as I have seen, not only in America, but also in India, none of them can be strictly said to be authoritative, because in almost every one of them, the commentator has expressed his own opinions without touching the spirit of Bhagavad Gita as it is. The spirit of Bhagavad Gita is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita itself. It's just like this. If we want to take a particular medicine, then we have to follow the directions written on the label. We cannot take the medicine according to our own whim or the direction of a friend. It must be taken according to the directions on the label or the directions given by a physician. Similarly, Bhagavad Gita should be taken or accepted as it is, directed by the speaker himself. The speaker of Bhagavad Gita is Lord Sri Krishna. He's mentioned on every page of Bhagavad Gita as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan. Of course, the word Bhagavan sometimes refers to any powerful person or any powerful demigod, and certainly here Bhagavan designates Lord Sri Krishna as a great personality, but at the same time we should know that Lord Sri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as is confirmed by all great acharyas, spiritual masters, like Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, Madhavacharya, Nimbarka Swami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and many other authorities of Vedic knowledge in India. The Lord himself also establishes himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the Bhagavad Gita, and he is accepted as such in the Brahma Samhita and all the Puranas, especially the Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Bhagavat Purana, Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. Therefore, we should take Bhagavad Gita as it is, directed by the personality of Godhead himself. The 4th chapter of the Gita, the Lord says, Imam vivashvate yogam proktavan aham avyayam. Vivashvan manave prahamanur ikshvakavai brevit. Evam parampara praptam imam rajasayo vidu. Sa kalaneha mahatta yogo nashtaha parantapa. Sa evayam maya te ja yogaha proktaha puratanaha. Bhakto shime shaka chetirahasham hi itad utamam. Here the Lord informs Arjuna that this system of yoga, the Bhagavad Gita, was first spoken to the sun god, and the sun god explained it to Manu, and Manu explained it to Ikshvaku, and in that way, by disciplic succession, one speaker after another, the yoga system has been coming down. But in the course of time, it has become lost. Consequently, the Lord has to speak it again, this time to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He tells Arjuna that he's relating this supreme secret to him because he is his devotee and his friend. The purport of this is that Bhagavad Gita is a treatise, which is especially meant for the devotee of the Lord. There are three classes of transcendentalists, namely the Gyani, the Yogi, and the Bhakta, or the impersonalist, the meditator, and the devotee. Here the Lord clearly tells Arjuna that he is making him the first receiver of a new parampara, disciple succession, because the old succession was broken. It was the Lord's wish, therefore, to establish another parampara in the same line of thought that was coming down from the sun god to others, and it was his wish that his teaching be distributed anew by Arjuna. He wanted Arjuna to become the authority in understanding the Bhagavad Gita. So we see that Bhagavad Gita is instructed to Arjuna, especially because Arjuna was a devotee of the Lord, a direct student of Krishna, and his intimate friend. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita is best understood by a person who has qualities similar to Arjuna. That is to say, he must be a devotee in a direct relationship with the Lord. As soon as one becomes a devotee of the Lord, he also has a direct relationship with the Lord. That is a very elaborate subject matter, but briefly it can be stated that a devotee is in a relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in one of 5 different ways. One may be a devotee in a passive state. One may be a devotee in an active state. One may be a devotee as a friend. One may be a devotee as a parent. One may be a devotee as a conjugal lover. Arjuna was in a relationship with the Lord as a friend. Of course, there is a gulf of difference between this friendship and the friendship found in the material world. This is transcendental friendship, which cannot be had by everyone. Of course, everyone has a particular relationship with the Lord, and that relationship is evoked by the perfection of devotional service. But in the present status of our life, we have not only forgotten the Supreme Lord, but we have forgotten our eternal relationship with the Lord. Every living being out of many billions and trillions of living beings has a particular relationship with the Lord eternally. That is called Swarup. By the process of devotional service, one can revive that Swarup, and that stage is called Swarup Siddhi, perfection of one's constitutional position. So Arjuna was a devotee, and he was in touch with the Supreme Lord in friendship. So I think we're going to pause here for tonight, because there's so much that we can just go over, that we just completely, when I read this, when I first read the Bhagavad Gita, oh my gosh, before that I had been reading all these different spiritual books, by different swamis and so-called this and that, and Soham, some, Ram Dass, I am God, be here now, and there was even some Ekankar stuff, which is very, very based on the Vedas, Ultimately, I found out that pretty much everything is based on the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, and everyone just tries to do their own spin on it. But it was really far out, because I read how authoritatively Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada presents that, listen guys, Krishna is the Supreme Personality behind all personalities. He's like the guy that all the gods and demigods are worshiping as the Supreme God. He's the God of all gods, and this concept, was presented in such a factual manner with such authority. He talks about this disciplic succession, how this has been passed down. It made sense to me. It made absolute sense. And it was a breath of fresh air. It was the first time that someone had, because I had already had through psychotropics, I had already had interdimensional contact with higher dimensional benevolent beings. There's benevolent and malevolent or whatever beings, out there there are celestial beings trying to help the humans, and there are demons trying to enslave the humans, and this is going on, and there's a great war that's always being fought, and like some of the new age people will try to like fill you in on like, hey bro, have you heard about the Mercadians and the Lemurians and the reptilians, and they'll try to get you involved in all of this angelic war stuff, but it's really just it's all side quests. It's all irrelevant, because what Bhaktivedanta Swami is saying is that, yeah, there's demigods, there's personalities, there's this and that, but there is a supreme Godhead. There's a being that all these most powerful beings, the most amazing beings that are way thousands of millions of times more badass than we are worshiping this one guy that is infinite, that is infinitely attractive, that is infinitely powerful, that is the source of all, that has its own realm, has its own universe. And they call him Krishna. And so Krishna is, so it's presented in two ways, It's presented that, because when people first hear it, they go, oh, Krishna. They're like, oh, I've heard of that blue guy. That blue guy is God? What do you mean that blue guy is God? I mean, what about, all these other people that are claiming that they're God too, And so, this is what the impersonalist does. He goes, okay, well, there's Krishna, and then he equates Krishna to be just one and the same with all these other mystic yogis. And in this way, he eliminates or extinguishes the chance to be in a loving service relationship with Krishna, because he's dethroning Krishna by trying to equate him with others that are nowhere near the status of Krishna. There's a story of a guy, it was Poundraka was his name, and he would dress up like Krishna and pretend to be Krishna, and like he had to like put on face for all these people that, because can you imagine just like having a costume, and like it wasn't just the two-armed Krishna, it was the four-arm, the Vishnu Krishna. So he had these extra arms like that he would like, prop up on and glue on, or whatever, how he hooked them on, with metal or whatever. He would go out on his palanquin, have his servants like take him around town, and everyone would be like, oh yes, I am the Mahavishnu, yes, serve me. You know what I mean? And then Krishna actually was there on the planet at the time, and some guys, like, I'm sure they started catching on. They're like, Krishna, there's a guy that says that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead over there, and you should surrender to him. Oh, nonsense, I am the Supreme. So he's got to save face in front of his followers, because otherwise, they'll probably abandon him. So he's like, I'll write him a letter and tell him to surrender to me. So he writes Krishna a letter. He's like, you should surrender to me. I am the all-powerful Narayan. None is as strong as me. You should immediately surrender yourself at my feet. And he sends this letter to Krishna. Krishna laughs. He says, what the fuck is this guy doing? Like, it's just like, that's the most retarded shit. Like, can you just imagine, someone writes you a letter saying that I am you, and you need to, step in line. Step in line and surrender unto me. Pandraka. Fucking stupid. But we can laugh at him because he's silly. He's such a dumbass. And he gets his ass whooped. He gets his ass creamed. Oh, man, we'll have to go back and read that story sometime. But, yeah, Krishna's not going for it, man. Krishna just straight up just pummels this guy. Just wipes him. Just fucking boop, 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 wipes the dash with him. And that was it for Pendraka, man. He messed with the wrong dude. But he was kind of, he was probably stuck in that situation. Like, once you're impersonating someone for that long, you can't just go, oh, yes, he's the real thing, I'm fake. You can never admit being fake if you're a phony. And so they have to take it. They have to take their deception to the level of self-destruction, which is what he did. And so there's people out there that, think that they're God, and they think that all living entities are God, and that we can all ascend to the level of God. And a lot of this is very prominent in our culture. We have a self-empowering culture. Feminism is a very self-empowering movement. And in addition to feminism, we have the pseudo New Age movement, which is for both men and women, that teaches us to become the demigod within, and unlock the hidden chakras, and become this amazing version of ourselves, and unlock our dormant powers, and ascend to the highest level, and basically become a god or a demigod. But we should just understand that there are demigods, and we can ascend to these levels, but they all worship Krishna. Everyone does, because he's the reservoir of love. He is the most beautiful, the sweetest. You ever had a sweet girlfriend, a really hot girlfriend, or a really hot boyfriend? It's like, wow. Yeah, you'd like to be around that person. They're just emanating this good energy. Krishna is like that times a million. I mean, this is like the summum bonum. There's no one more attractive. There's no one sweeter, So this should be our goal, to be around Krishna, once we've discovered who God is, once we've realized that this is the most rare and valuable information that's being presented to us, that we've come into contact with, that we now know who God is, and we have information about his planet and how to get there, we should take it seriously. Okay, we should engage ourselves in the practice, purifying ourselves by chanting his holy name, which is given to us in this age of Kali as the prime benediction for humanity. The way that we can be most pleasing to Krishna is to chant his holy name sincerely, with affection. Each and every day we make a vow to slowly chant more and more and more, until we're chanting at least an hour a day, an hour and a half. Keep growing it, and have a minimum amount, and just keep chanting. Okay, so if you're interested in this process, reach out to me and I will teach you. Okay, I will give you a personalized lesson of how and which mantras to chant, and how to do it in many different ways. And I will even buy you some beads for yourself, so you can chant on beads. Do it along with me. And I got my beads right here that I chant on. And a really, really good friend of mine, dear friend, made these for me in the Philippines. Thank you, Sir Romy. And Tulsi beads are an amazing practice, an amazing way to help focus your attention onto the holy name. Okay, so we need to hear the holy name, we need to sing the holy name, we need to chant. When we're by ourselves, we chant alone on japa beads. And this is called tapas, okay? It's called yajna. Yajna means sacrifice, okay? Sankirtan yajna, okay? Sankirtan is the chanting of the holy name. Sankirtan yajna, the sacrifice of chanting the holy name. It means you don't just do this because you go, oh, wow, this makes me feel good. I'm going to chant because I like chanting. It makes me feel good. No, it's called a sacrifice. It's something that you engage in. It's a penance that you engage in, that you decide, I am going to dedicate my time. I'm going to sacrifice my time to engage in this austerity, this yajna, this sacrifice for the pleasure of God. That is what it's all about, okay? Sankirtan yajna, sacrifice. You have to make the decision to do that. You don't ever come to the point to where you go, oh, it's going to be... Well, you do come to the point to where the chanting becomes full of nectar, like ice cream, but you don't come to that point by hankering after it. You don't come to that point. You come to that point by deep levels of surrender and humility, and feeling lower than the straw on the street, and realizing that God loves you despite how fallen and fucked up you are. And for most people, they need a spiritual master to, not for most, but for all people, to actually be able to experience their fallen condition in full. Otherwise, the tendency is just to think I've got it together, or maybe not. Like my mom, for instance. She's somewhat humble, but still not fully cognizant of her fallen condition, and thinking that she's very humble. Like when I try to shed some light on the situation, he goes, "Oh, you don't know me. You don't know how humble I am." It's like, okay, yeah, I don't know how humble you are. Okay, well, I do know some people that are really, really fucking humble, and those people are feeling lower than the straw on the street, and they are tasting the nectar of love for God by dint of that humility being that entry point into the spiritual dimension. So, if we maintain this attitude that, oh, I'm humble, then that is a symptom that we are not humble, okay? Because a true humble person, his attitude is, I am very arrogant, I'm lacking in humility, and my only hope is to be pleasing to my spiritual master. And if he neglects me, then I can do nothing but sit here and cry. And so that is what it is. So we need to get to this point of humility. That's how we can taste the nectar of the holy name. But in the beginning, before we get to that point, we need to just engage in chanting the holy name as a matter of duty, as a matter of sacrifice, as a matter of austerity. So we take this practice as, okay, you just learned some information about God. Maybe it was the first time you've heard it. Maybe it was not. Maybe it's the first time you're ever going to seriously consider it. Okay? You just came into contact with the most rare and confidential information about the Supreme Being. Okay? And you learned the process by which you can be pleasing to Him and come back to Him and remember Him. Okay? So that is what you need to hold on to above all else. Let everything else in your life change and fade and come and sway and ebb and flow. But never, ever, under any circumstances, let go of chanting the holy name. Never let go of that. Let go of everything else and hold on to that forever. For all of eternity, latch onto it. Never let it go, and you'll be just fine, okay? No matter what happens, if you're going to die, if someone else is going to die, doesn't matter. You hold on to the holy name. Your destiny has changed forever. For all eternity, you've been saved from hellish condition. You've been saved from all these other things. The liberation, the salvation, the saved is just a side effect of the treasure that's awaiting you, because you will reach the final stage of Prema Bhakti as that seed of love grows in your heart and develops, just like a tree grows from a small seed and then fructifies and fruit blossoms and falls. You will taste the nectar. Okay? It's just a matter of time. Now, you have to deal with the mind and the consequences of your past activities and your misdeeds and all the shit. And Mayadeva is going to come after you and try to tell you, oh, you don't need to surrender, don't chant the holy name, blah, blah, blah. You're going to go through the cycles. You're going to go through the wash. You're going to get beaten up and thrown around and trounced on and this and that. But if you just hold on to the holy name at the very core of your being and just go through all that shit, then you'll have made it there in record time. Because it's beyond time. So it's timeless. So that is my words of advice for our class of the Bhagavad Gita on this Thursday evening. And I hope you join me next week as we continue on with reading the introduction of Bhagavad Gita as it is by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. Big shout out to all my homies. Yep, all over the world. Thank you. Thank you to my friends in the Philippines. Thank you to my friends in Australia. Thank you to my friends in New Zealand. Thank you to my friends in Hawaii. Thank you to my friends in the U.S. mainland. Thank you to my European friends. I don't have that many because I haven't been to Europe in a long time, since before I was 18. So I'm going to try to go back to Europe this year. Okay, enough spoilers. We're signing off. We'll catch you next time. 10-4, good buddy.